and clear?
Yes, ma'am, you're loud and clear. Ma'am, can we start the session?
Yeah, sure. I guess we are good to go. Very good morning to everyone out here.
Yeah. Good morning, all the participants. I hope all of you are fine and doing well at your places. So let's start with day 2, session 1. So today we have along with us Dr. ManavjeetKaur. She's working as assistant professor at Peck University of Technology, Chandigarh. She has done her PhD in the field of biometric security from Punjab Engineering College, deemed to be University, Chandigarh. She's BTech and MTech in computer science and engineering, and also it's a great privilege to know to all of you as well that she's a gold medalist in BTech. Her research interests basically includes the areas of medical image processing, biometrics, biometric security, and latent fingerprint processing. She has published a good number of research papers in these areas in various journals and conferences as well. Currently, she's working, as I've already told you, she's working as an assistant professor in a cybersecurity research center at Peck, and she's having 15 years of experience in teaching. So today we have Dr. Manavjeet, and she will be delivering her talk on biometric security. So over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dilpreet. Thank you so much. So a very good mornings to all the participants present here. And Dilpreet, thank you so much to all the coordinators for giving me this opportunity to speak on this platform. So I have actually decided to, categorize my talk today because biometrics itself, biometric security itself is a very vast topic, right? So I really feel these 2 hours would be very less for me to speak about biometrics. But just talking about the prime and the important aspects of biometric security, I have decided to categorize my talk into 3 major subdivisions. In the first section, we'll talk about the basics of biometric, like what exactly is biometric, what are the various biometric traits which one should be aware of, right? And in the second subsection, I'll take you to the security aspects, why biometric is still not fully acceptable by human race, why we are still having certain points in our mind, of some fear factors in our mind that we should not switch to, whether we should switch to biometrics or not. So I'll take you to the biometric security aspects and then to the multimodal biometrics. And in the third subsection of this talk, I'll take you to how you can make use of biometrics in forensics, which itself is a well-established area, and a lot of research is going on in this domain. So we'll discuss about especially about latent fingerprinting and how to process latent fingerprints in biometric security. So that's the context. So we'll first start with the very first aspect, that is about biometrics and the basics of biometric security. So shall we?
Yes, ma'am. I guess
I'll share my screen. Just acknowledge if you are able to see the screen. Okay.
Ma'am, with your due permission, if you want, I can unmute all the participants because we have kept them from the perspective, we have kept them on mute.
Yeah, right now you can, but since I told you that I've segregated my presentation today's session to 3 major broad categories, and the idea was that I'll give you breaks and pauses so that you can ask me questions from the relevant sections if required. So I'll keep you popping up that now it's the right time, you can unmute, and then maybe we can have a discussion with the participants and can have their views also on biometrics.
Sure. Okay, ma'am.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, so I'll start with the biometric security first of all. So setting up the context, I'm gonna start with a very funny experience, rather I would say, which all of us might have experienced at one or the other point in during standing in a queue and trying to withdraw ATM cash from an ATM, and then as and when we reach the ATM and we, forget our pen and we were like, oh, what was the pen? So these kind of things, these kind of experiences we all might have encountered. It's not only with ATM, it might be with any other authentication mechanisms, authentication, wherever authorization authentication is required. I mean, maybe with wherever you need to remember something, maybe some pin, maybe some password, or I mean, anything of this sort. So these sort of frustrating experiences we all might have encountered at one or the other place. So we need to remember the codes, we need to remember the passwords, right? We need to remember the PIN numbers, we need to remember our email IDs, we need to remember lot of different aspects wherein numerous different occasions where we need to identify ourselves, where we need to prove that yes, this is what we are, and we need to kind of prove our claimed identity. So, I mean, initially what we used to do, we used to record these passwords, these pins, and some of the contact details in our address books. But since we all know that the world is going paperless, everything is getting digitized these days, day by day. And even our elderly don't want to, keep those paper kind of diaries with us. So, I mean, of course, once we are turning on to digital world, so a lot of threats are also growing up. So that's all this FDP is all about. So then cyber hacking everywhere, and a lot of global terror is popping up. So we need to take all those aspects also in our mind while switching on from the traditional approaches of just recording and saving our passwords and pins, and then to the new approaches. So, I mean, biometric security is a very sophisticated technology, rather, I would say, for authentication, verification, and identification purpose, but it is well established these days, and you can, I mean, use it with full confidence, rather, I would say, and in spite of, remembering, there's no need to remember your passwords, your pins, and your ID proofs. So you need not even carry anything along with you if you switch yourself to the biometric technology. So, I mean, right, with the recent years, we used to think as if it's a fantasy, right? I mean, making payments on digital modes in an online method. So, but these days we used to do that, right? Via different modes. We used to go for online shopping. We used to make online payments also. So at the same time, we are also afraid whether that is safe, whether we are doing it in a right manner. So that is a fair in our mind. So that is where this biometric plays a very important role. So biometric basically are the authenticated methods of, I would say, recognizing an individual based on various body traits. So bio means life and metric means measure. So you'll be able to measure, you'll be able to evaluate yourself using various metrics of life. So I mean, every person is unique and it has its own unique individuality, which could be, assessed by a various metric. So biometric technology is able to recognize a person on the basis of these unique features of its body traits like face, fingerprints, signatures, DNAs, iris patterns, and then impart a secure and convenient method for authentication processes. So I would say that biometric is measurement and statistical analysis of a person's physical and behavioral characteristics. So here you can say that there are two broader categories, and I've just now introduced two important terminologies, that is physical and behavioral characteristics of human body. So which could be used as biometric trait for getting yourself authenticated to any logical or physical system. So why biometric, as I was just discussing, I mean, if you just look at this picture here, it beautifully describes why we need to switch, why there's a need to switch to biometric, and why people are actually adapting it in a lot of different applications these days. It's not a new thing right now. And you can say that initially we used to carry some things, rather I used to, the people like me who can't remember each and every password, we used to note it down on paper or on a diary and then save it with us, right? Which of course is not secure at all. Someone can steal it, and I mean, our passwords are very private and secret information is gone in wrong hands. And another important aspect, another important method is something I mean, people who are better than me in remembering may remember something, may need not carry anything. So that's again a bit better approach. But I mean, of course, that again is forgettable. Then something you are, that is something which is very efficient. You need to carry anything, you need to remember anything. It is just you possess those body traits, those modalities, and you can use them for getting yourself authenticated or getting yourself uniquely identified to any system or organization. So that's the most secure and safe method. So that is what biometrics is.
Hello. Sir,
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I just thought there's some question from some participant. Are we good to go? Should I proceed, or there's any query from somebody?
No, ma'am, please proceed.
Okay, thank you. So that's about why why we are switching on to why we are adapting biometric in different applications in different domains. So as I initially told that it is broadly categorized into your physiological and behavioral characteristics of human body. So physiological are those which one possesses, like your fingerprint. We all have unique fingerprints. Iris, we all have unique iris. Even our left and right iris are unique, right? And your palm prints, your face. So all these possess, all your body traits possess unique characteristics, unique features, which are, safe enough to get yourself authenticated to any mechanism or to any organization or to any logical system. Similarly, there are certain behavioral characteristics also, which are unique to a human, perception, like the keystroke dynamics, how you type. Every human being has a unique way of typing, and your signatures may be digital or may be your offline signatures also, and then the way of walking, the gait biometric, and the way of speaking, the speech or the voice biometric. So these are some of the behavioral characteristics which can be attached with the human and can be used to get himself authenticated to any system. So these are some commonly used biometric traits or modalities which one used to use in case of biometric for authentications. So physiological could be your face, fingerprint, hand geometry, iris, retina, of course, and ear again is a valid biometric trait. So these are some physical characteristics of human body which could be used for authentication or authorization. Then the behavioral traits could be your keystroke dynamics, which I was just discussing, the way you type, the gait, the way you walk, voice, the way you speak, and signature. And all these biometric traits may be physical, may be behavioral, they all possess some unique features or unique characteristics. What you need to do is you need to analyze those unique, and first of all dig out those unique characteristics, and then need to analyze them so that they can be matched with your own identity at the time of verification, when you want to get yourself verified to a system or an organization, and then they could be matched, right? So these sort of characteristics, the uniqueness in these characteristics can be used for authentication purpose. So I have listed few of the body characteristics, behavioral or physical characteristics, and I'm talking that they can be used as traits or for authorization. But there are certain, you can say the rules, or there are certain metric on the basis of which you can actually say that this body part can be used as a biometric. So those are like the very first thing is uniqueness. A biometric trait should be unique, right? Permanent. I mean, it relates to the manner in which the trait varies over time. The biometric trait should be permanent. There should be permanence in the trait. And then the universal, every person should possess is, of course, only then it will be universally acceptable. Then measurable. Biometric trait should be, you should be able to measure and acquire biometric feature. Then performance, it should have a performance of certain threshold. Only then you can say that it's a valid biometric trait, and it should be actually acceptable by whole human race. And of course, the Sun Convention, which relates to that, whether your trait should be spoofed or not. I mean, how difficult it is to spoof a biometric trait, right? So these are certain characteristics which a biometric trait should possess. And on the basis of these characteristics, we used to quantify, we used to qualify that this body characteristic can be treated as a biometric trait, or it can be used for unique authentication, right? So they're universally acceptable. They are, you can say, state of art characteristics, right? So the selection of a particular biometric for any specific application also involves weighing of these factors. A lot of research was been done on all these factors, and as a state of art, three different major levels were being given by prominent well-known researchers, like H stands here for high, M is for medium, and L is for low. So in this table, you can see that on one axis, we have all those biometric characteristics, which I was just talking about, like universality, uniqueness, permanence, collectability, performance, susceptibility, and the circumvention. And on the other axis, we have different biometrics like the face, fingerprint, hand geometry, keystroke, hand veins, iris, retinal, signature, voice, and many more. So, and then in this matrix, you can see some columns, some cells are marked with high, some with low, and some with medium. So this table basically helps us to find out that for which specific application we should use which specific biometric trait. You know, there's nothing like this biometric trait is best and could be adapted for all different applications. So there's nothing like this is the topmost performing biometric trait. It all varies from application to application, that in which specific application, for which specific scenario, which specific biometric trait would suits the best. So that comes up, that you can figure out from this table. Like if we talk about face, right, the universality in face is high and uniqueness is low. I mean, why this uniqueness factor is low here? Because of course we can see that there are twins, there are people who look quite alike. So that's why this uniqueness is a bit low. Permanence is medium, because obviously the face characteristics, they used to change as and when we used to grow. With age, the features, there are certain changes in our facial features. Collectability, of course, is high. We can easily collect it with a normal camera, with a normal high definition cameras. Performance is state of art is low, but yes, a lot of research is going on these days. Rather, I would defy on this. I mean, these days, a lot of research is, a lot of work is going on in face biometric. Performance has increased a lot. Acceptability is high, of course, and circumvention is low. I mean, it's not easy to spoof facial features. Similarly, if we talk about fingerprint, the universality is medium, uniqueness is high. So what I mean to, conclude from this slide here is that if supposingly you want to, give an application of attendance system in a school where you don't want to spend much on procuring or deploying a biometric on because the sensors in some cases are very costly, and it is very costly in some of these biometrics to deploy it. Like the iris sensor, the iris sensor is quite costly as compared to the fingerprint sensor, and if face is there, then of course a normal camera would work in some cases. So, and of course, I mean, if, as I took an example of attendance system in a school. So even if, I mean, one or two students of yours mark proxy and there's a false acceptance in case of one or two students, it's fine. I mean, it's acceptable. So there you can go with the fingerprint biometric, right? With only one biometric trait. But if we talk about very high security applications and forensics, or in NASA, or maybe very high security applications, in such cases you cannot even allow a single false accept. So you need to look for very high performing biometric traits, where of course cost is not a matter of concern for you. Then in such cases, people used to opt for iris, and people used to opt for multimodal biometrics, maybe iris plus fingerprint, maybe iris plus face. So these sort of combinations are being used. So what I mean to figure out from this slide is that it's not, there's a notion that, you cannot say that this is a best biometric. It always depends from application to application, from domain to domain. So it is quite domain specific, quite application specific, that where and in what scenario, according to what conditions you want to deploy a biometric trait. And then you have to figure out that which will perform best in this specific case. So that's the takeaway from this table. Coming on to the next slide. So this is basically a generic biometric system. These are some of the components of biometric system which every biometric system should possess. May it be a fingerprint biometric, may it be an iris biometric, may it be a face biometric, may it be any of the behavioral biometric trait. These components are quite generic, and every biometric authentication system should have these components. So what those components are, there should be a sensor. As I was just discussing, there are specialized sensors which relate to every biometric trait. I mean, if you want to capture a fingerprint, we had very specialized sensors which can capture fingerprints only. You all might have seen those. We all have given our Aadhaar samples also. There also our fingerprints were been taken on a specialized surface on a platen where we used to place our fingerprints, and then this sensor used to capture the features from our fingerprint, right? And if we talk about iris, then again there was a specialized sensor for collecting a iris database, right? So there are certain sensors which are specific to a specific biometric trait, and of course we need to capture each and every biometric trait, so we need a sensor, of course. And then next important component should be feature extractor. Feature extractor actually extract the features, the prominent features which are responsible enough for recognizing you as a unique individual. So feature extractor is a very mandatory component. Of course, pre-processing in some cases, pre-processing may be required if you are collecting some noisy or raw data. In other cases, may not be required. So it's optional in some cases. Then another important component is the template database storage unit, wherein you use to store the database. I would introduce this term template. This might be new to you in the few coming slides. So right now, just understand that there's a unit where you used to store all the features, where you used to store the collected data set from the sensors. So that is a database storage unit, which is a major component in any biometric system. And then there's a matcher and a decision module. Matcher, basically what a matcher does is it actually compares your enrolled features. Again, this term enrollment is new to you. So the features which you have actually stored at the time of enrollment, as we have done in case of Aadhaar, and they are matched with the features, the verification features, which you actually want to get yourself verified to a system, and then you give those features, they are matched, and then based upon certain score, those features are being extracted. So basically, the important components are there should be a sensor in any biometric system, there should be a feature extractor, there should be template data storage module, there should be a matcher, and there should be a decision module. We'll be discussing about all these modules in our later slides. So just for the time being, just understand that these components are mandatory in any biometric system. So, I would rather say that all these, the placement of these components, they could be placed at different locations. I mean, if the data collection is to be done at a very huge scale, as is the case of Aadhaar, so the features are, these components are maybe placed at different locations. This whole system could be in the form of a distributed mechanism. I mean, this data storage could be kept at some other place. The sensory module could be at various demographic locations where you used to collect the Aadhaar database, right? And then the feature extraction could be placed at some other secure location where the features are being extracted, or other way around. I mean, if you're not collecting the database at a large scale, right? So you have a very small system, then you can have all the placement of all these modules been done at one unit only, at one place, or maybe at one server. You're just doing each and everything. And even all this whole system could be fitted up on a single chip also. So it all depends that how the biometric system is being deployed. So the deployability is very, very important, is of major concern. So accordingly, all these components would be placed. But I again emphasize that these are the major components which every biometric system should possess. Now, just elaborating a bit more about the biometric system, which is very, very important. Everybody should be well versed with it, that how we are using these biometric system in our daily life, how this system actually performs, how is it working. So first of all, a biometric sensor is used to produce a sample of the fingerprint. I mean, here this diagram only focuses on the fingerprint, but of course you can correlate it with any other biometric trait. So then there's an algorithm which actually extracts the most important features of the characteristics from fingerprint, and those features and characteristics from any biometric trait, they are called the templates, right? So you don't store the raw sensory data, you just extract certain important features using certain set of algorithms, and those features are called the templates. They're extracted from each and every biometric trait, may it be fingerprint, may it be face, may it be iris, or any other behavioral trait. So at the time of enrollment, basically those templates are stored at a secure storage place. And then during verification, a fresh template has been generated from the data which you give during verification, and it is matched with the one which is stored at the time of enrollment. And some similarity score has been generated based upon certain preset threshold or certain preset scores. A match or a non-match has been given. So this is a broader pipeline. I'll dig a bit deep into it. So the template, I hope all of you are clear, but still I'll give you a crisp about what exactly is template. So it's basically a sequence of characteristics or numbers which represent a biometric trait of an individual. So template is why we need to form a template. Why are we not actually using the, the raw data which we have extracted from the sensor, maybe the imagery data in case of fingerprint or in case of face, or in case of iris also. I mean, the reason behind this is that, the imagery data is going to take a lot of space, and if we can actually extract the important features which actually can correspond to unique identification of an individual, so they'll take very less space, number one. Number two, computational, it will be quite cost intensive. It will be quite easy to, make use of those template features because they are sufficient enough to uniquely identify a person. No need to store the whole set of information which has been collected at the time of sensor, right? So the biometric templates are quite, sufficient to uniquely give you authentication. So templates are also called the prototypes. It is calculated during enrollment or verification phase. Templates are understood as a compact representation of collected feature data where useless or redundant information is discarded. The third important point is that you used to discard the useless or redundant. There could be a lot of redundancies, right, in the information which has been collected at the sensor data. So that could also be discarded while we're creating a template. So this is how your template may look like. In case of fingerprint, there are feature sets which are called minutia points, which uniquely identify a fingerprint. So those minutia points are maybe these are the ridge patterns. So they could be ridge endings and bifurcations. So these the locations or the coordinate locations of those minutia points are being saved in form of templates, in form of bits and bytes, and they actually form a template database which I was just talking about. So it could be either the minutia points in case of fingerprints, it could be either some specialized features, the bit codes in case of your iris, or it could be some specialized features in case of your face also. So they form your templates. So this is a biometric system, a broader view of it. So first of all, you give your input to the sensor module, right? Here's a fingerprint which has been shown. I hope all of you are able to see it. Then some feature extraction module is there by which you can extract the features. These blue and red points mark the minutia points or the feature set being extracted from the fingerprint. They are then stored in the form of a template database. So they form the template and they are stored in the form of a template. You can see these indexing been given. This indexing actually uniquely represents a person. So as we all have got a unique Aadhaar ID, right? Based upon that Aadhaar ID, our biometric traits, biometric features are being stored in the database. So if it is a verification, then of course, based upon this indexing, our features would be mapped in the database. And then this is a template database. This process is rather called the enrollment process. And when at the time of verification, you give a query data on the same sensory module or on a similar kind of sensory module, then the features again are being extracted in a similar way, and then the matching module is there, which plays a very important role. The features just been extracted are been matched with the features which are stored in the template database in the form of template, and those features are matched, and based upon certain preset thresholds here, based upon certain certain scores are being generated at matching module. The results of matching may be a score in the range from 0 to 100, may be a score in the range from normalized score in the range from 0 to 1, might be certain Hamming distance also. It is being passed to decision making module where certain preset thresholds are being presumed, and then accept or reject decision is being given. So this is a complete biometric system. This is how a biometric system works. So the point of concern here is that you need to have each component or each module of a biometric system itself is a major research area in itself, right? So extracting the data from sensory module may have certain noises, may have certain redundant information which needs to be discarded at the feature extraction module. At feature extraction module, a lot of research work needs to be done, wherein what are those prominent features, what are those important features which can uniquely identify a person and are self-sufficient to just store and can be used for recognition purpose. So then at the time of matching module, a lot of matching algorithms have been developed that what is the best way why which one can match these stored templates, and then the features being extracted at the time of verification or identification, and what should be the score, how the score is to be generated, whether it should be normalized or not. Again, a lot of research being done on various decision making modules. And a major important component, a major important point of concern here is that if you keep your threshold very low here, then what will happen, all the fingerprints, most of the fingerprints, most of the biometric data will be able to get through, because the thresholds are, the matching thresholds are very low. And if you keep those matching thresholds very high, maybe 80% or maybe 90%, then even the two fingerprints collected at two different instances from a same person may not be able to get and accept, or should be able to get through. Because the reason behind this point is that even if you give two different samples of your finger at two different instances of same finger, there should be certain differences, right? Because there are certain there could be the pressure could be different with which you place your finger on the platen, the scale invariance could be there, the lightning effects could be there. There could be a lot of different reasons because of which even two fingerprints of yours given at different instances of same finger may not match to 100% level, right? So there's always a threshold being set in biometric systems. So if we keep those thresholds very high, maybe 80% or 90%, then probably it is difficult for even to match two similar fingerprints of same person. But if we keep those thresholds very low, maybe to 20% to 30%, then even two different, because there'll be certain similarity factors also in two different biometric data being collected from two different persons. Like two different fingerprints may have some features, maybe few minutia points being located at common places. So if you just reduce the threshold to very low scale, then of course all of those would be able to get through. So it is a very important decision that what threshold you set. So if it is a commercial application, then a medium kind of threshold are being set. But if it is a very high security application, as I was discussing, where even a single false accept is not acceptable, in such cases, the thresholds are set are very high. So I'm emphasizing a lot on the system. The idea here is to give you, different research directions in this domain. I mean, there are a lot of each and every module here is a research component in itself. A lot of research. Even I myself have done my own PhD in template database, securing a template database. Because as in the second part of this PPT, I'll take you to the security aspects of biometric system. So if your template database has been hacked, one can even regenerate your fingerprint or basic sensory data from a template, right? So it is very, very important that you should work out on how to secure your template database, how safely, how securely you can store it. So if it goes to a wrong hand, then one should not be able to extract the useful information out of it. So this is a very important aspect. Now this I have already discussed. There are various modes of biometric system, but still I'll just go through it. So enrollment module, identification mode, and there's a verification mode. So identification enrollment is basically when you just you're in a control environment, right? The heart itself is a very good example. We all might have experienced it. So when you go to any other center where you used to give your biometric traits, so that is an enrollment mode, right? So people used to sit there. There's a controller who used to ask you that, okay, place your finger here. No, do it again. The quality of data have been extracted is not well. There are quality checks actually been deployed at each and every phase when the data has been collected, right? So that is an enrollment phase wherein you are in a controlled environment and your sample has been collected, and that sample is then been passed to the next module, which is of course is a feature extraction module. So during enrollment, some sort of basic level of quality checks have been placed on the enrollment module. And if the data which you give to different sensors, if it undergoes those quality checks, if it's passed, then it has been taken as successfully been collected, and a certain ID has been assigned to you that this has been indexed with this name, right? So that is enrollment. So next important, so this is all about enrollment. During this phase, the biometric characteristics of individuals are captured by a biometric sensor, and they're represented in digital form called template and finally stored in a database. So this has been done in a controlled environment, right? And then the next this is enrollment. So this one person, he's giving all his data, biometric data. They are captured by various sensors. For fingerprint, you have another specialized sensor. For iris, you have another specialized sensor. For face, you might be having a camera installed there. Then this is been given to the next module, which is a feature extraction module. So this set of operations are being done during enrollment. Another important mode is identification and verification. So if we talk about identification first, identification basically is a 1 to n comparison. So it is wherein, just look at this figure. This actually beautifully explains what identification is. So there's one person, right? You don't know who this person is. So the answer which you are trying to get out of this identification is that who is this person? So what you do is you have already a stored set of biometric data. May it be a repository of Aadhaar data set, may it be some other specific data set which is stored by an organization. So then this person, the identity of this person, of the characteristics of the traits of this person have been matched with all the persons, all the biometric data which is there in your database. And the closest match actually is been collected, and this is, you can say that this person here, we can see that it is matching with the identity of the second person here. So this is basically 1 to n match. You have to make all different comparisons. You have to compare this identity of one biometrics, this trait of this person with all the persons which are present in the biometric system or in the database, and then you'll figure out the best possible match. So this is identification. So identification basically is performed in forensics, wherein in some cases we even used to rank our matches. When we used to restrict your domain, I mean, there's a criminal, of course, who don't want himself to be matched with his identity with the ones which are stored in the database. So he's reluctant. So you want to figure out that whether he's the one from the pool of criminals or the data set which we have, then you need to match it with all the unique databases which you have, and then you'll figure out maybe 10 or 15 best possible matches, and then you can interrogate him. The police personals can interrogate him, all those 15 persons personally, and then can figure out which is the best possible match. So in forensics, it has a lot of applicability, wherein in spite of interrogating all a huge set of database, millions of people, you're just restricting your domain to 10-15 persons who are best possible probable matches, and then you can interrogate them one by one, and then you can figure out which is the best possible match. So it is a best application it has its best application in law enforcement and forensics, this identification mode. So it is 1 to n mode, right? Another important aspect of biometric system is verification, where it is 1-to-1 match. It is that are you who you claim you are? So the best application of identification is when you try to unlock your phone with your registered fingerprint. So here your data set is already enrolled, right? You just used to match it with your registered trait. And if it is a match above certain threshold, as I was just discussing, then you're able to get through. Another important example of verification mode is Aadhaar, where again a unique ID is given to you and all your biometric data is stored and it is linked with that unique ID. And once you present it in for verification to any organization or any logical or physical system, then it is matched with what is actually stored at the time of enrollment. And then if it is a match above certain threshold, you'll be able to get through that system, right? So this is how biometric system operates actually. So these are different modes of operation. So in case of identification, it is 1 to n matching. In case of verification, it is 1-to-1 matching. So verification is quite, it is quite fast as compared to identification, because identification we have to match with all the data set which is available to any organization. So coming on to the applications, so there are a lot of applications where biometrics has been used, extensively used, rather I would say. So with increasing fraud and identity theft through cyber terrorism, there's a need of implementing more secure and strong technological solutions, which actually biometric is providing. So it has emerged as most permanent technologies to authenticate an identity and prevent the fraudulent activities. So you can see the various applications right over here. So financial services, a lot of financial services are using biometrics, wherein as at the start of this presentation, I said that we are these days, making online payments also. So considering them that they're quite secure. So biometrics is the one which is actually could be used to, take out that fear factor in your mind if we make use of biometric, that yes, now it is quite safe that we can make those sort of financial transactions also if you're using biometrics. Then customer device accesses, healthcare, enterprises, law enforcement, citizen IDs, border controls, and some retail also we can make use of biometrics. So law enforcement, as I was just discussing, that a lot of your FBI's, CBI's, your police personals, those officials, they are making use of biometrics these days. There are every state, in fact, at country level, at world level, a lot of these databases have been created. There's a pool of databases being created for all criminals or all those personals who have at one point or other committed certain crimes, and then maybe they have a specialized secure database of theirs, and that can be matched with the recent crime been committed, and then I mean the criminal could be caught. It's quite easy to get through the criminal, right? So there's a system called automatic fingerprint identification system, AFIS. It is very common. It has very frequently been used by the police personals for identifying the criminals. So it is an automated system, of course, and a lot of good data sets are being connected with this system, and the trait or the biometrics being collected from a criminal can be passed on to the system, and a best possible match could be figured out to find out who this person is who has committed this crime. That because at a crime scene, a criminal might have left certain unintentional features, like maybe the latent fingerprints, maybe certain DNAs, maybe certain excretions from his body, which can be passed on, which can be considered as a feature set, important evidences can be passed on to these systems, and can best possible match could be figured out that yes, he's a person who has actually committed the crime. So these sort of applications are coming up these days, and they are actually been in use in various states. So we are also closely working with Chandigarh police and other police departments. So a lot of people are actually using these biometric applications. There's another data set, there's another system called automated biometric identification system. So automated fingerprint system is actually focusing on fingerprint and biometric data set. And if we switch against to biometric identification system, so this actually emphasizes on storing biometric information for face, finger, iris. So it's actually using multiple modalities for storing the data set. So these are certain applications. Then of course we are all well versed with that biometrics are these days very extensively used in border security controls and airport security, also for migration, for getting yourself authenticated and identified at a specific airport. For healthcare, it has a very valuable use, rather I would say, because every person has its own associated health records, and that's quite personal and secret to a specific person, right? So if via biometric, if health provider or a personal is allowed to have an access to the biometric records of a patient, the health records of a patient, which he has, if he's suffering from certain long alignment, or he has certain past history of any certain specific problem, so he'll be able to diagnose that patient quite well if he is getting an access to the data, right? And this patient is actually been able to authenticate or himself to that healthcare system via his own biometric data and his own biometric records. So this actually is going to be very time intensive, and it'll be very helpful for the patients who are suffering from certain problems or alignments. So travel and migration, I've already discussed that. In passports also, e-passports also, you have a lot of biometric features. You have your photo, along with that there's a chip which stores the fingerprint database of yours, fingerprint information, fingerprint trait of yours, which could be used for migration purpose from one place to another place for authenticating yourself. Then biometric time and attendance system we have discussed. At a lot of places, one can make use of this biometric time and attendance system at schools, workplaces, at retail spaces, construction sites, wherein you want to record that when a specific person is entered to an organization, when or how he's leaving, and at what point of time he's leaving. So that record, that logs could be maintained, and then checks could be done on maybe some unauthorized person should not be able to or should not be allowed to any organization's premises, right? So these attendance systems, rather there's a portal under this digital India initiative. You all might have gone through it. I mean, you can just scroll through. There's a biometric redundant system, BES, which has a lot of organizations being registered into it. It is a under digital India initiative. So whosoever employee used to come and log in via biometric redundant system, so that total number of registered employees, total number of employees who are present today, who are out today, that record you can even you can see right away. So a lot of organizations have registered to this biometric identity system, which is linked with Aadhaar. So then physical and logical access, we all know that. I mean, at the start, I told you, you need not remember any pins, any passwords to have an access to an organization, may it be physical, may it be logical. So again, it has a lot of good applications in this domain. So coming on to conclusion to this subsection of today's session, so biometric can prove an individual identity with much higher accuracy, of course, as compared to passwords or traditional ways of authentication. One cannot spoof, right? So weak or compromised passwords are the primary reasons for raising instances of security and database breaches, which can be countered using biometrics. Passwords are shareable, of course, and can be stolen, but biometrics are not. And of course, the use of this technology means improved security, and it will help the customers and businesses to fight against, the cybercrime which we are dealing with these days. So that's about the first subsection of my presentation. So Dilpit madam, if there's any query, I mean, by any participants, we are open to it. You may please turn on their mics. Hope am I audible? Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for confirming. So I just hope I have made myself clear. I mean, if there's any doubt in or anything which you would like to discuss or maybe add on, rather, I would say, so that is most welcome. Or shall we proceed further? Okay, fine. So I assume in interest of time, I should proceed further because I still have 2 more presentations to show you, right? So I'll proceed further and maybe we can have queries at the end if there are no queries right away. Yeah, are you all able to see my screen? Madam Dilpit, please acknowledge if my screen is visible.
Not visible, madam.
No,
It's not visible. Okay. Just give me a second. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hope it's visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so the second, subcategory of my today's session is about biometric security. So, I mean, I really don't want to disappoint you all because what all I have said by now is also true. But at the same time, we cannot also forget, the other important aspect of any biometric system, that are the biometrics 100% secure? Is it foolproof to switch to any biometric system, or is there any, there's any breach, or there's anything which we actually need to be aware of, or any aspect which we should be very conscious about while deploying any biometric system? So that is equally important for all of us to know while switching on to biometric systems. So it's just that we should be aware of it, because by awareness we'll be taking preventive measures, we'll be taking some good steps in interest of implementing or deploying a biometric system in in a fully safe manner. So biometric system is a very appealing technology, as I have just discussed in my first set of presentations. So, but we have some few serious privacy concerns which we cannot ignore, right? So the data which we used to collect and store in the form of template is actually, one can hack it, is can be, may go to wrong hands. So we have to be very, very careful while storing that biometric data. Right? You might have heard a lot of news about Aadhaar data set. I mean, in newspaper, lot of different times, lot of different moments you might have heard that news. But of course, most of times that news is fake because they have actually taken third-party support, and a lot of your data is actually in safe hands, and it is being converted to a secure form wherein even if the data is hacked, no one is able to get the exact information out of it. So that is actually safe. 99% of those news which you hear about this hacking of other data set are not true, right? But of course, you should be well versed with these things or these aspects of biometric security models. Only then you'll be able to deploy it safely, right? So I'll skip few of the basic slides. So there are different points, right? Or there are different ways by which a biometric system could be hacked. So I discussed that a biometric system has these modules, sensors, feature extractor, a matching module is there, and a decision-making module is there. So biometric system is vulnerable to attacks at various levels, at various points, right? So one should be very, very conscious, and one should be very, very, alert about while deploying a biometric system and where and when an attack can happen. So only then you'll be able to take preventive measures. So these are the points where a biometric system could be attacked. Again, this itself is a broader research area. A lot of research been done in this this region, and a lot of with the advancement of machine learning and deep learning, even this system is switching its gears to adversarial attacks. And in this rather FDP, I would say that there's one expert talk on adversarial attacks also. So you'll be able to correlate that with advancement in machine learning, with advent and with the use of machine learning and deep learning. A lot of new attacks, a lot of poisoning and spoofing attacks have emerged, which one should be very conscious about while deploying these sort of systems, right? So awareness is very, very important. Okay, so coming back, so these are some of the components of a biometric system: sensor, feature extractor, matcher, template, and then the final decision making module or the application device maybe. So these are some points where a biometric system could be attacked, where it is vulnerable to attacks. Actually, I would rather say that could be attacked, not that it will definitely be attacked, but there's a possibility it could be attacked. So at sensor level, a fake biometric could be presented. This is first point of attack. Second is the replay attack could be made at this channel between the sensor and feature extractor. This third point of attack, which is could be done at a feature extractor itself. A feature extractor could be overridden. The features have been extracted could be overridden. Then again, the channel between feature extractor and matcher could be attacked by a synthesized feature vector. Then the stored template could be modified or maybe altered. Then again, a channel between the stored template and matcher could be intercepted and attacked. Matcher decision could be overridden. Even one can override the matcher decision. The final scores can be overridden. And final decision can also be, one can alter this final decision also. So these are the possibilities where a lot of work has been done by various researchers, and they've actually explored that a lot of attacks been done at these locations. And of course, not only attacks, but side by side, people have also, researchers have also, suggested some remedial measures or some preventive measures, which I'll be talking about right away. So what you need to take care of so that your system is fully foolproof and it is fully secure and is not vulnerable to all these sort of attacks. Since I discussed in my previous presentation that these modules of a biometric system could be placed at different locations. They could be placed at different, it could be a distributed system, right? Sensors placed at different locations, feature extractors placed at different location, template would be stored at different server locations, and matcher module could be performing at different locations. So that's why there are channels, the data could be transferred from sensory modules to one place where the features are being extracted, right? So there's a channel, so that channel should be secure enough. So that's why there should be a replay attack. There can be a replay attack at this channel if you are not protecting your data at different channels also, where and how these modules are being connected. So the very first attack level is attack at a sensor level, where a fake biometric can be presented. It is quite susceptible to spoofing. So there are various ways by which biometric data could be spoofed. Of course, not all biometric could be spoofed. I strongly say this point here that spoofing an iris, spoofing a retinal data is not possible. It's quite too impossible. But spoofing a fingerprint is quite easy. One can spoof a fingerprint by simple glue-like gelatin materials, right? One can even recreate a fingerprint from leftover residue fingerprints. So it's not very difficult to spoof a fingerprint data. So that's why people switch their gears to multi-model data sets to make a system safe, or to some those sort of traits which are more secure, if security is a concern, of course. Because as I took an example of attendance system in a school, there it might not be of that concern, right? But if it is of concern, then you have to be very, very conscious that yes, fingerprint, since it is vulnerable to these sort of attacks, so these preventive measures I should take, right? So these attacks are basically fake biometric presentation at sensor. People even used to present their photos. There are a lot of photo attacks being done at sensor. So I would rather like to add an important point here. There's a latest research domain you can even note down, that is in selfie biometrics. So a lot of work people have started doing in selfie biometrics. Selfie biometric is basically where one can take the selfie of various biometric. One can even take a picture of a fingerprint, and then it can be presented to any system for authentication purpose. So since these days we have very high end and very good camera resolutions, so a normal camera can even give you very good one can be able to extract very good features from a fingerprint photo being taken by a normal high definition camera. Even your mobiles have been well equipped with very high resolution cameras. So pic taken by a camera, you can even try it at your home, and if you zoom it, you'll be able to see a lot of good features. So you can extract features from a photos being taken by a normal camera. So in spite of using specialized sensors only. So that is the latest research direction in this biometric system security, and that is actually a major point of concern in coming days, as far as biometric security is concerned. Because we used to post a lot of our data on internet, on social media. We used to post our photos, we used to post even I have rather read a case study somewhere wherein a person was saying hi, and that photo was been posted on Facebook, and from that hi, the hackers used to extracted that fingerprint region of interest, and they used to extract the important features from those fingerprints, and they have misused those features from that photo of a person saying hi. So you can now imagine that I mean, preventive measures or precautionary measures one should take, right? So even posting our high resolution, high definition photos on social media without taking a note on it is not that safe. So you should not do that. You should actually take preventive measures before posting your data on any social media site. So that is a major point of concern in coming days. So that again is a latest research area. Okay, so I was able to relate it because that actually happens at sensor level, so that one can present a spoof of any kind of trait here at the sensor level. So what then, coming on to defense measures, as I told you that a lot of defense mechanisms have also been proposed by various researchers. So liveness detection is one way of or a defensive measures of getting rid of these sort of attacks. Another is a challenge response system, wherein a system can pose certain challenging questions which one has to answer. If the answer is correct, then of course you will be able to get yourself authenticated, or you'll be able to get yourself through. Liveness detection is that if you present a finger, as I told you, that spoofing a finger is easier, but at the same time there are preventive measures also to that, right? So if you have a spoofed fingerprint which is created by a gelatin or a glue like material, and you have a sensor out there which has a very good hardware which can go beneath the skin and check the vein patterns, and can check the blood vessels or the temperature of your skin, and then can check, oh, it is not a genuine fingerprint being presented to the sensor, it is a fake fingerprint being presented, right? So this is a very good defensive measure. But of course, if you're aware that these sort of attacks are possible, then you can upgrade your sensors accordingly, which should have this liveness detection mechanisms in them. Or maybe you can inculcate some software oriented challenges response, AI oriented challenges response system in those systems. Another second type of attack would be your replay attack. So this could be a simple masquerading. There could be, adversary can play a previously intercepted digital biometric signal bypassing the sensor and then can be passed on at this, maybe in the form of a man in the middle attack. This kind of attack could be performed, or maybe a replay or a false data could be injected at a channel between sensor and a feature extractor. And what kind of defensive measures one can take? I mean, you need not transmit the data as it is in raw form, right? You need to encrypt it. You need to perform certain, transformations, maybe certain non-invertible transformations or invertible transformations, or maybe cryptographic and watermarking techniques could be used as the defensive measure while transferring the data from one place to another place. Another third kind of attack level is where one can override the feature extractor itself. So the attacker can override the feature extraction module to mount a level 3 attack. Adversary can copy a Trojan horse executable at a feature extraction module. So Trojan horse can be controlled remotely, we all know, and command could be sent that in spite of this newly extracted feature set, please use this specific feature set which I have passed on, and then a false match could be generated, or maybe a denial of service could be performed, by overriding a feature extractor. So one has to be very conscious that these sort of attacks could be performed. And what is the defensive measure here? I mean, all those security solutions which provide protection against Trojan horses, they could be applied as a protection system here, right? Because the tax here could be denial of service, as I was just discussing. One can override the feature extractor, one can have deploy Trojan horse. So if you have taken preventive measures, good set of preventive measures against the Trojan horses, then of course this attack could be, taken care of. Another attack can be performed that is called attack level 4. That could be a synthesized feature vector, which is here at a channel between feature extractor and a matcher. So synthesized feature vector is a feature vector which is being generated, a set of features rather I would say, which are being generated, which are being synthesized, which are not the actual feature set being extracted at the time of verification. They are synthesized, similar looking feature set vectors could be created, and they could be placed at a channel between feature extractor and a matcher, may again cause denial of service or may again cause a false match. So one has to be very conscious that these sort of attacks can happen. But what is the defensive measure at the same time? There are a lot of code signing techniques, right, which can detect the tampering or alteration in code, any sort of alteration in code. So if it is digitally signed, then of course you'll be able to say there's a modification, right? Or of course a challenge response system can handle these sort of synthesized feature vector attacks. So another level 5 attack is where one can attack the matcher module itself. A hacker can actually alter the matcher, or maybe the match score, or maybe the final response, yes ka no and no ka yes, that even is possible. So that can actually cause denial of service. Preventive measure here is, of course, code signing is one approach, but one can opt for multi-model biometric systems, wherein one can opt for multiple different traits, instead of using only one biometric trait, so that these sort of attacks could be taken care of. Another very, yes, please. Is there any query?
Dear participants, if you have any queries, please then only unmute yourself. Otherwise, I request not to unmute yourself during the session.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. The next important, very important level of attack is on a stored template. So this is very square. The sweat is very high. One can, if one is able to get the templates, one can actually recreate the original data out of those templates and can be passed on a biometric system and can be misused, right? So template cannot be stored in raw form. One has to actually store it in some transformed form. There should be a transformed version of a template data which is stored so that it is actually safe, right? Even if one is able to get access to that stored template, which is actually in a transformed form, a hacker is not able to retrieve the original or the actual information out of it if it is a non-invertible transformation. So one has to be very careful while storing the templates. And of course, with the Aadhaar, a lot of these preventive measures have already been taken. So the various defensive measures being proposed by various researchers is One can use sorting approaches, non-invertible transformations, key binding biometric crypto systems, key generating biometric crypto systems, and some hardened servers or database access control sign-in templates could be used as a defensive measures against this level 6 attack. So a lot of research also been done specifically on this category of attack, because this is actually, as we have seen that on all different channel level attacks, a lot of work was already been done in network security. But in this specific attack, since template is something which is not a normal database, right? It is a very specific feature set, and each and every bit of a template is very, very important for us, so that we should be able to actually match, with the genuine person. So this is a very crucial attack. One should be very careful about this sort of attack. Another level is level 7 attack. Again, is a channel level attack. And all different measures which we have already taken at various channels would also be taken at to avoid this sort of channel. That is cryptography, watermarking, steganography, and combinations of various encryption techniques could be used as a defense here. Level 8 is wherein one can actually override the final decision, right? So again, one has to be very conscious that these sort of attacks should not happen. So one can make use of multi-model biometric system, right, as a remedy to this. So this was about various attack levels and their defense mechanisms. So if you are aware only, then you'll be able to take preventive measures and you'll be able to make your system fully foolproof. So just mere setting up a biometric system, deploying it for an application is not going to work. You have to be very conscious enough that at these points, these attacks can happen. Okay, I have to take preventive measures. So I haven't touched, right, the adversarial machine learning aspect, the attacks which can actually happen because of deployment of various machine learning and deep learning models. So since you are going through this whole FDP, so you'll be able to have another session on that. Probably you'll be able to connect it with various attacks then when you will be talked about various adversarial networks and attacks. Okay, coming on to the next aspect, which I was repeatedly saying that one should make use of multi-model biometric site. So multi-biometric itself is a very interesting term. There are different sources of information which could be used to establish identity of a person. So what those multiple sources of information could be, right? So there could be multi-sensory information, there could be multi-algorithms, there could be multi-instances, there could be multi-samples, or there could be multiple modalities. So this question might be popping onto your mind, right? Why we are switching on to multi-model? What are the limitations which unimodal biometric is having? So some of the limitations I have just discussed, some of the challenges I have just discussed, but I have just listed all those major challenges in a unimodal biometric system here in this slide. So just going through the names. So distortion of input of biometric data. So distorted biometric data or incorrect biometric data may be presented by one biometric trait. So if you are using multiple biometric traits of multiple modalities, then probably you'll be able to sort out or maybe get through this problem. Then some sort of interclass variations are there. Again, could be countered by multimodal biometric. Interclass similarities are there. Again, could be countered by multimodal biometric. Non-universality, some of the biometric data may not be universally available. I mean, there could be, somebody in an accident might have lost his hand. So if he's not able to present his palm print or fingerprint, then there should be some provision for these sort of users of a biometric system, that there should be some other trait, probably the face or the iris could be there, which he can present and can get through the system, right? And then intruder attacks, if there are some sort of attacks like this, there could be some sort of spoofings. Then one can spoof fingerprint, as I told you, but spoofing an iris system is not that easy. It's almost impossible. So if you have multiple modalities or multiple traits, then spoofing such a system with multimodal features is not that easy. It will be a challenge for an attacker, right? So various multimodal systems could be, you can have a multiple sensors, you can deploy multiple sensors so that you can deploy handle the sensory level attacks. So there could be, you can see here in this figure, there are two different sensors being deployed to collect the data as a multi-sensor system. Then multiple algorithms could be used so that correct features could be extracted from raw data. As I was just discussing, that extracting the features itself is very, very important and a crucial stage. So the more correctly you're able to extract the features, the good amount of features you're able to extract,
best results you will be able to attain out of that, and best the system would be more reliable, right? Then multiple instances of course could be captured. Multiple instances could be captured by same scanner by one sensor. Multiple samples could be collected. You can see that multiple face profiling is done here, wherein you're not just collecting one frontal face, you're collecting the side face and face with maybe different illumination conditions. Multiple modalities of course could be used, wherein fingerprint, face and iris are being collected. So these systems actually are very helpful, you know, in tackling a lot of attacks and a lot of issues which actually happen with biometric systems. So this is a very important, you can say, a solution. And Aadhaar also makes use of multiple traits, right? You all are aware of it. It makes use of iris, fingerprint, and of course face also been used for authentication. So multiple modalities are being considered. So these are some of the benefits of multi-model biometric systems. Of course, the recognition accuracy increases. Continuous monitoring is possible. Privacy concerns been taken care of by multi-model biometric system. Enrollment, if somebody is not able to enroll by one biometric trait, maybe another biometric system or biometric sensor could be used to enroll. And resistance to spoof attacks, of course. So multi-model actually adds an extra layer of security. We have just discussed about it instead of unimodel, right? So again, just giving an interesting aspect here from research perspective. You know, a lot of fusion strategies are to be worked about, and a lot of research being conducted in this direction, that how to fuse the data being collected from various biometric systems, from various biometric modalities, you know, so that the final decision could be a combined decision from all different traits. I mean, the data set being extracted from different biometric systems could be combined at various levels. The fusion could be performed at sensor level. You have collected a sensory data from I'll just take you back from a fingerprint, from face and iris, and then the fusion been done here at a sensory level only. Another kind of multimodal fusion could be done wherein you extract the features from fingerprint separately, extract the features from face separately, extract the features from iris separately, and then a fusion of all those features been done. Another set of fusion could be performed maybe at a math score level, where the score is being compiled from all these states independently, and then the final score has been maybe the average score, or maybe the voting, max voting could be conducted. And the final decision, of course, where of course max voting, ORing or ending could be performed, wherein supposedly one trait says that yes, it should be acceptable, the other says trait says that no, the features aren't matching to that extent, third trait says that yes, authentication should be provided. So out of three, if two are saying yes, authentication should be provided, then considering a max voting, I mean, final decision should be yes, right? And if it is ending, if it is a very high security application, so of course, then even if one is no, final decision should be no. So these sort of, you know, research directions are there wherein one can work in case of multimodal biometric system, and a lot of work has already been done, and a lot of work still is going on in this direction for multimodal biometric systems. Okay, so another important aspect regarding the security is the spoof detection, the presentation attacks, right? Which I also covered the aspect of this selfie biometric and liveness detection, right? So spoof is where this is also called a presentation attack, where a photo has been presented in front of camera or in front of sensor, right? And then that is the original identity of a person has been spoofed. This is the glue-like material which I was talking about, by which one can spoof a fingerprint. So this is a gelatin material. Once you place your finger, or maybe you just press it on a residual fingerprint somewhere, you'll be able to recreate a spoofed version of your fingerprint, right? So this is a presentation attack. So one has to be, you know, your system should be very effective. I mean, these days, though, making use of machine learning, deep learning models, one is able to counter some of the presentation attacks also. But then one has to be very conscious about the training and testing data set which one is passing on to the, you know, deep learning systems. Then liveness detection, as I discussed, that liveness detection is a technique which actually helps us to detect the spoofs if there's any attempt of presenting a spoof data set. So one can inculcate very high-end hardwares which can go dig deep to the skin and can check your facial thermograms,
and measure your body temperatures and can actually easily compare whether it is a live face been presented or whether it's a photo which has been presented. So it is capable of analyzing the data collected from a biometric sensor, right? So liveness detection could be performed in two different ways, active and passive. In active, it could be a simple challenge response system. One can present certain prompt, certain questions or certain actions, like your system is smart enough, it can ask you to wave your hand or maybe to blink your eyes or maybe to nod your head, right? So, and if these sort of challenges are being presented, then if you are a genuine user, you're a live user, you can actually respond to those challenges and your responses could be noted and then you'll be given access. Or otherwise, if it is a presentation attack, if a photo has been presented in front of camera in spite of a genuine person, then of course you won't be able to get through these sort of challenge response mechanisms. And passive attacks wherein, passive mechanisms wherein you can have a high quality, cameras or high quality captures during enrollments, and hardware should be upgraded so that these sort of attacks could be countered. Okay, selfie biometric I have discussed, so you can just this is the latest and research area. You can explore about it. If somebody is interested in working in this domain, may explore it about selfie biometric. So a lot of research is going on because this is actually a challenge in the in coming days. You'll be facing out this challenge with biometrics. Not exactly biometric, rather I would say what all data you post, what all photos, what all pictures, high-end pictures, high quality pictures we used to post. Your biometric data, one could be able to extract, right? So there should be mechanism, there should be system. We should be able to distinguish between the actual person and a photo or these sort of spoof being presented in front of any biometric system, right? So another important aspect which one should be aware of, or rather a lot of these approaches are being used these days. Multi-factor authentication is one practice which one should adapt for. Along with biometric, there should be other modality, there should be other pins or some OTPs which could be used for secure authentication. So there could be multi-factor authentication, which could be a good practice, right? VPNs could be used so that your biometric data could be made more secure, and you need to update your softwares and patches so that there should be any trojans or any basic level of attacks which one can perform easily on any biometric system, so that can be countered. So that takes us to the conclusion of this PPT. So challenge is putting the system and protocols in place so that system should not be compromised. So putting everything well in place, having awareness about how the system needs to be deployed, what preventive measures one should take. Actually, that would be very, very helpful for you in case you want to actually opt for a biometric system in any application. So any questions from this section, or should we proceed further?
Dear participants, if you have any doubts, any queries, you can ask. Are there any doubts, any queries, anything which is not clear to you, you can ask. Okay, I guess everything is clear to them.
Moving on to the next important aspect of today's session. So that is about how to use biometrics in forensics. So especially about latent fingerprint, so which is a major application area in forensics, and a lot of, again, research is going on in this direction. So latent fingerprints, basically, so this is the basics of biometric. I'll just switch it, skip this slide. So latent fingerprints basically are the fingerprints which are left by chance on any crime scene, maybe left by a criminal by chance, unintentionally, of course not intentionally, on any crime scene. So a lot of research is going on that how can one capture those latent fingerprints being left over at a crime scene, and how can those prints be processed so that they can be actually produced as an evidence in court of law, and so that a criminal could be caught easily, right? So that is a latent fingerprint. Okay. So coming on to the fingerprint, basically, so fingerprint is a very prominent trait we have just discussed, and it is very frequently used in many applications. right? But you should be, at least aware of some important features from fingerprints. So there are 3 different levels of features which one can extract from fingerprints. Since this section is majorly focusing, we are focusing on latent fingerprints, so I need to just give you a brief about this also. So level 1 features are the broader features, right? Like the deltas, this is a zoomed version of one fingerprint. The deltas, the core points, the ridge flow patterns. So these are called level 1 features from a fingerprint. Level 2 features are your minutia points, which I was discussing. The ridge endings, you can actually see a ridge here is ending. So this is the ridge ending. This is a very prominent feature from a fingerprint. And the ridge bifurcations, here a ridge is bifurcating into 2. Right. Another important set of features is level 3 features, which you'll be able to extract at a very high resolution sensors. Maybe a 1000 dpi sensor would be able to capture these sort of level 3 features. They are the pores. So if you can just see these holes on the ridges, they are pores. They are called level 3 features. So on your feature, you have hundreds and thousands. On your ridges, you have hundreds and thousands of these pores, right? So they are very important features, and they actually are would be present in live fingerprint only. So one won't be able to spoof a fingerprint if you are able to make use of level 3 features. You're extracting level 3 features for authentication, right? So pores are very important level 3 features which one should be able to use. And pores, actually research stat says that pores are present in almost every finger and in large numbers. Because if we talk about your minutia points, they might be very less in number. You can see in this figure there are very few minutia points, ridge endings and bifurcations. But of course this is one of the state of art feature set. But yes, they are very less in number. But if we talk about pores, they are very they're many in number, they're much in number, right, as compared to your level 2 features. So one cannot ignore this important level 3 feature set. So there are 3 important acquisition modes in if you talk about fingerprints. You can acquire the fingerprints as rolled fingerprints, plain fingerprints, and latent fingerprints. So rolled fingerprints are basically your ink fingerprints, which can be captured from one nail to another. So you can just see it. So finger is placed from one end, and then it has been rolled through the other end, right? Same has been done on this sensor also. So this is offline. This is of course a sensor. On a platen, you place your finger from one nail and then keep on rolling to the other end of a nail. So this is a rolled fingerprint. Sorry, another fingerprint is acquisition of a fingerprint is via plane. So this is a plane fingerprint wherein you just place a finger on a sensor. Maybe this is a of your inked impression, and this is a sensor, a platen on which you have placed your finger, and then your data has been captured. So this is an infrared sensor, and then the person has placed his finger, and then the data has been captured. Another acquisition mode, another set of important fingerprint type is a latent fingerprint. So these are the impressions which are actually left accidentally on a surface of an object, and they are inevitably touched or handled by a person. They are basically, they form very important evidence in any crime, and they can be left at a scene of crime unintentionally by a criminal. So if you are able to capture them, if you're able to acquire them, then they can actually be produced as an important evidence in a court of law. You can see on the scan, there's a finger which you cannot see with the naked eye, but by specialized mechanisms, special methods, you can actually capture it. So this is how you can make this invisible finger visible, this print visible, and then this could be passed on to your AFIS system. Some pre-processing could be done, and then the criminal, one can reach to the criminal. The police personnel can actually reach to the criminals very easily, right? So latent fingerprints are very important, evidence at any crime scene. So one cannot ignore them. So this is actually a comparison of manual system and an automated system. So these days we have actually switched on to the automated system. Initially we were having manual systems with us, wherein the inked impressions of rolled prints are being collected on 10 print cards. Police personnel used to store those 10 print cards. There was a database of those 10 print cards, huge data set, and then manually, those cards are being marked and they are matched, and then they are searched and stored locally. So, and response time was in hours. But these days, I mean, since acquisition is been done by specialized fingerprint sensors, and then the feature extraction can also be automated. It's actually automated, and then the features extracted can be passed on to AFIS system, your automated fingerprint identification system, and can be matched with national level or world level databases, and response is in few seconds or in minutes. So it's very fast way. So this is how an automatic AFIS system works, which I was just talking about. The input has been captured maybe by a sensor or maybe by offline mode. Then those input fingerprints are being passed on to a segmentation module where the region of interest has been segmented, from where features is being extracted. Then some sort of enhancements are being performed, some pre-processing has been done, and then features are being extracted, and then this feature extracted been passed to matching module, and a candidate list of probable matches been collected. So you might be wondering why candidate list here, right? I rest all other units you might be quite familiar with if you are with me throughout this presentation. So candidate list, basically, as I was discussing that, in your forensic application, we used to restrict our domain, we used to rank the most probable matches. So this candidate list will actually give us a set of those probable matches. So you'll be able to figure out that these are some of the best possible matches with this input fingerprint, and then you can further, police personnel can further investigate and okay, so coming on to latent fingerprints. So these are some unintentionally left fingerprints. You can see this is evidence been collected at a crime scene. This is a bottle from where some evidences are being collected. Again, on here, an expert is trying to collect some fingerprints being left unintentionally. These fingerprints, of course, you can't see them with the naked eye, with the visible eye. You need to have certain specialized approaches. So you can see a brush in their hand. So this is and a powder bottle here. They're actually using some powdered based approaches to highlight those fingerprints, and then the scale has been used, and then they're captured, and then they're digitized, and then they're processed. Because in these sort of cases, because a lot of background noise could be there, a lot of fingerprint overlapping could be there, a lot of challenges could be there where a lot of pre-processing is required, right? So, and then the actual features are being extracted. So this capturing itself and then pre-processing itself is a very challenging task in case of latent fingerprints. They cannot be captured by normal fingerprint sensors, right? So these are some of the important challenges, and rather I would say a research direction for if somebody wants to work in this direction on latent fingerprints. So fingerprints which are found at crime scene are partial. Most of the fingerprints are partial. They are incomplete actually. You can see this first fingerprint is not that clear. Here also most of the important information is missing, and fingerprints could be of poor quality. So processing these sort of fingerprints is very, very challenging. Right, then there's a background noise. You can see there was a background surface on which there was a fingerprint been placed. Police personnel experts have captured those fingerprints, but again there's a challenge how to get rid of this background noise. And you can see on crime scenes, a lot of overlapped fingerprints have been found. You rarely would get a single fingerprint been placed at quite a neat surface. So mostly you'll be having these background noises. You might be having partial fingerprints. You might be having, overlapped fingerprints. One important aspect which I guess I missed out is that, how are you able to get these latent fingerprints? Latent fingerprints are left unintentionally by a person because your fingerprints excrete certain set of oils, and those oils are left over at any porous or non-porous surfaces, and from those surfaces then by specialized powdered mechanisms, those leftover oils and residues, they can be lifted up, right? So that's why we are able to lift these latent fingerprints, because our body fluids extracted are they are they leave the fingerprints on any specific surface, and then we are able to lift it. But these are the very prominent and major challenges these days in which a lot of research is actually going on. So separating out these overlapped fingerprints, and reconstructing these partial fingerprints so that they can actually be produced as an evidence in court of law, and then improving the quality of these poor fingerprints is a major challenge. And this pipeline actually represents how the latent fingerprints can be processed for identification. So first of all, this is a crime scene, right?
So a lot of, you can say, a lot of things are there on this crime scene. So person might have left his or her fingerprints at lot many places. So very first thing is one should be capable of locating those fingerprints at where on this crime scene the fingerprints are been present. Then after locating, one needs to expert needs to develop those fingerprints by powdered approaches or by some latest approaches which I'll be just talking about. And then after developing those fingerprints, you should be able to capture. Expert needs to be lift and capture that fingerprint via tapes or via specialized mechanisms, and then they are digitized and then they are passed on to this automated fingerprint identification system, which is linked with the national level database so that the criminal can be caught. So by this pipeline you should be able to figure out, if all these processes are well in place, and if they are well researched, then of course it's not that easy, that difficult to catch a criminal. I mean, since we have a lot of good databases at national level with us, right? So this is a complete pipeline for identification in case of latent fingerprints. So I was just discussing that there are various approaches of developing the fingerprint. Once it is located, you need to develop it. So this timeline actually represents various approaches which are being developed, researched from time to time, and they are used to develop latent fingerprints. But broadly, the surfaces from which fingerprints could be lifted are categorized as either porous surface or non-porous surface. Non-porous surfaces are non-absorbent, and porous surfaces may absorb some of your oils or residues. So very prominent approach is powdered based method, which police personnel these days are very frequently using. Experts are using them, and then they lift the fingerprints. But there are certain other approaches also, which these days are taking place. I mean, there's a method called RUVIs, which is reflected ultraviolet imaging system. There's an EV scan approach, which actually don't hamper or tamper your evidence. Because in powdered approach, if you're not able to lift the fingerprint correctly in one go, maybe you have lost your evidence, very important crucial evidence, just because you're not able to lift it properly. But in case of these touchless based acquisition method, contactless based approaches like RUVIs and EV scan, I mean, you can keep on capturing your evidence. Maybe you can try to capture it a number of times until and unless you're able to capture it in a good manner, so that you can actually extract the digital features. So this method is not destroying your evidence. This contactless method won't destroy your evidences, but these methods may destroy the evidences. So you can just find out this pipeline in one of my research papers with my PhD scholars. So we are doing work in CSRC lab on these latent fingerprints. So we have certain specialized high-end devices also, like this RUVIs, reflected ultraviolet imaging system. This is a very costly equipment. We have procured it at lab, and we have actually collected data set using RUVIs. So considering it as a contactless method, so we ourselves have found that the data set collected by RUVIs is much better than the data set which was being collected by traditional approaches, and it's actually been very easy to find out features, extract features from the data set collected by specialized devices. But of course, they are a bit costlier as compared to traditional methods. But I mean, if we talk about police personnel, the state police departments, I mean, this is not a big deal, spending some lakhs of money and procuring some high-end devices and then using it in field so that you can actually catch hold of criminals, right? So this is the automated process of latent fingerprint identification, which I was again just going through quickly. I'll just go through it. So you need to locate, then segmentation has been performed. Segmentation here also includes separating out the overlapped fingerprint. This also comes under the segmentation process. Then some enhancement, some reprocessing approaches being followed, and then reconstruction could be done. I mean, if you had a partial fingerprints or incomplete fingerprints, then there are a lot of reconstruction approaches and a lot of work in fact is going on so that partial fingerprints can be made complete, or incomplete information can be filled up so that accurate and exact features could be extracted from the fingerprints. Because if your evidence is being properly enhanced and reconstructed, then extracting a feature won't be a major problem, right? You'll be able to extract the correct features, and then list would be verified by some experts. So this whole process of latent fingerprint identification itself is not fully automated. So a lot of research work is going on. Some of the components or some of the modules are still they need manual intervention, right? So I mean, this again is a good research direction where one could think of working. So segmentation, enhancement, feature section we have just discussed about. Yeah, this is the device. This is Ruby's basically reflected ultraviolet imaging system, which I was just telling you about, that this device we are having at our lab in Cybersecurity Research Center. So we have collected a lot of good data set. And on this image, on the image on the right hand side, you can see a Verify 300 LC. This is a fingerprint acquisition device. This is a sensor which again we have in a lab. With this we can even acquire a fingerprint which can give us level 3 feature details, like the pore level details also, which we are able to extract using this sensor. So we have collected a ground truth using this. We also have a mega matcher SDK by which you can actually store the data set and process the fingerprints which are collected by this scanner. So this is Ruby's. This setup you can see is Ruby's itself. So this has various components. I have rather asked my students to help me with a small video. They have prepared a small video wherein you'll get a glimpse of how data set can be captured, can be lifted, latent fingerprint data set can be lifted using this contactless device without tampering the evidence, without tampering the important evidence. So since in an online mode it is not possible for me to show this device to you, but I have alternatively asked my students to prepare a video in lab so that you can actually get a glimpse of how the data set has been captured using this Ruby's device. So I'll show it to you in a short while. So just having a glimpse of various parts of this Ruby's. So this is basically a UV short light source, and this is the protective glasses. This is Cyclops. This is used to, you need to wear protective glasses actually because UV light source is very harmful. So, but the fingerprints in Ruby's reflected ultraviolet imaging system would be visible if you just throw a UV light source on it, right? So then this is Cyclops, by which you first locate that where exactly the fingerprint is present. This is an evidence, one sort of evidence being placed under this imager. So this is an imager by which you can analyze and locate and see the fingerprint. Above it, I have attached a camera by which you can take a click. So the evidence here is been converted into a digital form by this camera. This is a tripod stand just to hold all these things, and there's a mini shortwave UV light source also been attached here. So with this setup, we are able to capture fingerprint, latent fingerprint data set without tampering the data set itself. So the major steps for dataset creation were we used to acquire the samples, locate the fingerprint first of all, then develop the latent fingerprints, and then capture the developed latent fingerprints by some specialized camera, or even a smartphone camera is good enough, to give us pictures of this fingerprint dataset. Okay, so here comes the video. So I'll just play it. That will give you a glimpse of how the dataset has been collected. Is this video audible? Okay, let me raise the volume. Yeah.
So today we will be demonstrating the traditional method of picking up the latent fingerprint. First of all,
So this is a fingerprint actually. You can see after spreading the powder, fingerprints are quite well visible.
Ma'am, video voice is not audible.
Oh,
Is it
video is
dim?
Madam, video also not visible to us. Ma'am.
Video is not visible. Just a
Yeah,
second.
video is visible, ma'am, but voice is not.
Just a second. No, it is full, I guess. Is it better now? Has it actually improved?
Please play, ma'am. Actually,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
passed.
Let's skip the initial part. Let it go.
No voice, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is
Is
no
it now?
voice in the video.
Oh,
Earlier, we were about to hear, but now all of a sudden we were not able to hear it.
just a sec. Let me just try sharing it again.
No issue.
I'll rather try to play the video directly.
Better, ma'am.
Playing it from. Yeah. Is it audible now?
No, ma'am. Same.
Even if
No,
it
no,
is
no,
not,
madam.
even if it is not audible, you just, I mean, see what all has been demonstrated here. I'll just speak along with it.
Okay.
So basically, there are some fingerprints which have been, there were some, latent fingerprints which were not visible to us with naked eye. They were there on this table. And then when the student actually, there's a powder, black powder, when he sprinkles it on the table, then they kind of start, we would be able to see it using naked eye. And then he smoothly, brushed it up. And then he's trying to now lift it using a sellotape. Okay, so what they're trying to demonstrate here is that this is a traditional method, but this is very widely been accepted and still in use by police personnel. So what is the challenge in this method is that if an expert is not able to lift the fingerprint in one go properly, then of course we would lost the evidence, the important evidence we'll miss out. Because in the first case, we're able to lift the fingerprint beautifully, but in the second case, we are not able to lift the fingerprint properly. It's been partially been lifted. So we have spoiled our evidence, right? Some of the fingerprint is here on this sellotape, and some of the fingerprint is still lying on the surface of the evidence. So this a partial fingerprint might not be of interest and use to us. So we have actually spoiled the evidence. So that is a major challenging aspect in the traditional system. So that's why we need to switch to the latest approaches of the contactless methods, which I was just discussing about RUVEs, wherein you without intervening with the evidence, you are able to lift and convert it into a digital form. So coming on to the next RUVEs method, these are certain components of RUVEs. So this is Cyclops, with which one locate. This is Imager. So here is the demonstration how we used to capture or lift the fingerprint. So one needs to wear the safety glasses first because UV is very harmful. And here we are locating the fingerprint using UV rays. So once it is being located on an evidence, so that to mark that the fingerprint is present in this specific area, then we just place it under the imager. So with this imager, we'll be able to see the fingerprint. Then a camera could be used to capture it. It could even be, permanently placed on the imager. This kind of fingerprint can be captured from this Ruby's device. Okay, let me take you back to the PPT. I'll show you some of the samples in the next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the samples which we collected using rubies. So without even touching and destroying the evidence, right? So that you can see that they are lifted very beautifully. Are you all able to see the samples, the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how you can even see that we are able to see the pores in the fingerprints. Rather, from the latent fingerprint which is captured from a crime scene, we are able to see the pores. So this is going to be very, very useful, right? Because we can even use these pores to identify any criminal. So you can see here the pores have been highlighted. In fact, there is no noise, right? We are only able to lift the fingerprint ridges. And this is the fingerprint being captured by the sensor, the Verify 300, just to create a ground truth. So this kind of research has been done in a lab only. And these are some of the samples been collected from overlapped fingerprints. Two fingerprints been placed and then captured under that rubies. So you can even see the pores been present here, right? So some of the pores you're able to see. These are overlapped fingerprints. So again, we have actually tried to separate out the overlapped fingerprints. But a lot of challenges still are there. I mean, a lot of research work still needs to be done. So this is just a research direction which I can give you. I mean, these overlapped fingerprints may then may be separated out by various techniques and can be then treated, can be passed on to feature extracted module, maybe to AFI system for further processing. So this is how we used to extract the pores. You can see these pores have been marked. So this is the image being collected from rubies only. So green color ka tha, here we have just converted into a gray, and then final the pores you can see have been lifted. So this is a sample, this is a partial image been collected from a beer bottle. So this is the evidence, considering it as an evidence. So half the image is very clear. Next half the image is not that clear, but still we are able to lift enough number of features out of this partial image also, because pores are present in very large number. So you can even use those level 3 features to match even this set of this part of image. This much of image would be sufficient to give a unique identification and a match. So these are certain ports again been marked from latent fingerprints. Yeah. So this was about it, and giving you some more research directions in this site. So separation and reconstruction of overlapped fingerprints, because again is a very challenging area. Not even two overlapped fingerprints, one can even find 3, 4, 5 n number of fingerprints being overlapped. The fingerprints could be partial, latent fingerprints could be noisy, but they are at the same time very important evidence of ours to solve any crime scene. So you might have encountered, a lot of cases. I mean, a lot of cases in Delhi, also a lot of cases in metro cities where we are not able to catch hold of criminals just because we haven't handled the crime scene carefully and with full consciousness. Because if you're able to handle the crime scene carefully, we're able to get a lot of fingerprints, a lot of biometric evidences, not only fingerprints, other biometric traits also. So biometrics is very important, has its very important application in the domain of forensics. So if handled carefully and if we are able to use the state-of-art technology and able to adapt the systems, then we'll be able to solve a lot of important crucial criminal cases. So that's it from my side. If there's any queries, I mean, also I would rather say it's a very important platform for me to introduce that we have these sort of equipments with us, and if somebody is wants to do some sort of collaborative work in this domain, right? So most welcome. I mean, uh, we can always work in collaboration. So if you're interested to do research in this domain, so you can anytime contact me. I've already given my email ID. So it's manavjeet@pc.edu.in. So we can further take on this work and can, because a lot of work is actually required in this direction. It is a very important domain where a lot of work could be done. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions or anything which you would like to add on, which I have probably missed out because there was time constraint. So I myself know that I have missed a lot of things, but still, if you want to add any important thing, please go ahead.
Dear participants, if you have any doubts, any queries, you can please go ahead. Discussion forum is open for.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Yeah, I am Dani from Andhra Pradesh, ma'am. I'm working as a faculty here. We are also doing the same research what you have said up to now, ma'am, which is very interesting to us. We are what you said, that is collaborative work. We are all seeking from you, ma'am. Definitely, we'll try to do collaborative work. It's one of the autonomous college, Vishnu Institute of Technology, which is in Andhra Pradesh, ma'am, West Godavari district. So we have, I'm also research scholar, ma'am, from SRM University, Chennai, which is in Tamil Nadu. So we have implemented this biometric authentication in cloud computing era, ma'am. So what the information we are extracted, so along with the Aadhaar card identification ID, so we are doing, started doing the work, ma'am. So with your guidance and like a collaborative work, where we are seeking exactly what you said, ma'am. So in future, definitely we'll touch with you, ma'am. I'll took your mail ID. So definitely we do along with you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for providing.
Really wonderful. That's really wonderful. Actually, when I was pursuing my PhD, that's what I was discussing with Dilbit also. We don't know, whom to contact, whom to talk to, because there are very less people working in this similar kind of domain in nearby vicinity. So that's why I asked her whether I could use this platform. I mean, this collaborative work would be useful for both of us. I mean, it's both ways.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for pointing it out. So we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Myself, Mutyala Rao from Usman University.
Good afternoon.
I have one doubt, ma'am. When you captured images of very much big sizer images, what kind of machine configuration you are using to process them, ma'am?
Big size in see, we in our lab have GPUs, right? We have DGX workstation, so we used to process images on GPUs only. So we have of course, a good configuration machine. But if you talk about image, I mean, image I have captured with normal phone, smartphone, and with DSLR camera only, so we were able to capture it. But of course, for processing, we are using DJX. So we have
That's what I'm
DJX.
asking about the processing infrastructure at your side.
Yes, we have DJX with us, so we can. I mean, if you're interested, we can go ahead with the collaborative work, and then you can use
so
those.
What about the programming model which you're using for the processing, ma'am?
We are using Python only. So we are using various libraries from Python itself, and
Any
deep learning,
parallel
of course.
libraries kind of thing?
Pardon?
Any parallel libraries?
Not exactly. We have used right now. We have used the deep learning models only, so we are able to process till this stage using deep learning models only.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Dr. Pushparani from Mother Teresa Women's University, Tamil Nadu. Actually, I would like to know whether you have the gate processing unit with you, because I'm basically doing many researches in gate. Even my scholars, they have taken up gate as a biometric perspective, as well as in the clinical gate analysis for Parkinson's and all those stuff. What we feel is like from the video stream, if it is possible for to convert that is in other terms of parameters like stance, swing length, all those stuff. If we need basically a gate processing unit, do you have a gate processing thing at your laboratory, ma'am?
Ma'am, we don't have it in our college, but I can actually connect you to a professor in CSIO. So Dr. Nilesh is there in CSIO. So he is working in this domain. So of course, it has many different applications. So he has a lot of good units. He has even collected data set. He has, pressure sensors also deployed various setups for collecting gate information. So you can contact him. So he's in CSIO Chandigarh only. So he's a pioneer. He's doing a lot of good work in this direction. So you can
I can get his contact details, ma'am. I'll communicate to you
Dr. Nilesh. So maybe you can mail me. I'll share the details with you.
Okay, ma'am. Because earlier when I was doing my research, I collaborated with Virginia University, US. For these sort of things, and they only helped me. It was some 15 years back. Now that in India, if my scholars they would try, they want to get some help, probably this will be really helpful, ma'am.
Yeah, that's this. See, this is really great. I mean, if in different dimensions, if one cannot, have all the, possibilities or all the solutions at one's place. But if we go by collaborative research, some data set based creation setup you get from some place, and some prelim work might be done at some place, and you can then start building your building from that base instead of working from scratch. That's always good. So I'll share the contact details.
Yes,
maybe we can be in touch on email.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any further questions from the participants, or shall we wind up the session? Dear participants, any further questions? Okay. So, ma'am, it was very great pleasure to listen to your wise words, and I have learned a lot from you when I was doing my masters from Peck University. So I would like to add one thing, that if you remember, we were working on the project of finger vein recognition system. So I've taken up that project further, and now I've written a research paper on that as well. So yes, even I was also looking forward that if we could collaborate in such a manner, we can, if you have the finger vein recognition devices, like where the vein patterns can be captured, so we can definitely collaborate on that.
We can definitely talk on this. We can definitely talk on this.
So, ma'am, I guess our participants would also have learned a lot from you, and I would like to take an opportunity on the behalf of Chandigarh University and Apex Institute of Technology to thank you and giving your valuable time from a busy schedule and coming up and giving a session on biometric, and that too on a latent fingerprint. That is very a latest technology, we can say, a biometric right, which is being used in forensics as well these days. So I guess our participants definitely would have learned a lot, and it would be our immense pleasure to invite you for in near future some talks also related to biometrics. So I would like to once again thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Have a nice day, ma'am. Thank you.
Same here for me too. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day to you too.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you so much, participants. Yes, I will be sharing the recordings with you. I will be creating a drive, and on that drive we will be sending you an email, and in that email we'll be sending you the drive link, and over there all the recorded sessions will be available for all of you for your reference. So you will be able to refer all those recordings. Apart from that, any doubts, any queries related to this FDP?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you are also said no, ma'am. The collaborative work, which are you are interested towards that. Every FDP we are attending, we are lacking behind of the resources exactly where it is available. If you put a step forward, and if you are initiating the collaborative work, ma'am, we are all very happy with this FDP, ma'am. We should all beneficial, ma'am.
Ma'am, you have noted down the email ID of the speaker. Have you noted
Yes,
down?
ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you can send her an email, and I can assure you on this thing that definitely she's gonna help you out, because she was also my mentor when I was doing my masters from Peck University. So she would definitely help you out in that.
Okay.
And
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, ma'am. So thank you so much, all the participants. And next session will start sharp at 2 p.m. So see you all at 2 p.m. Now you have a lunch break from 1 to 2. Thank you so much.